This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1804. It was Comic Talk all along. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Ian Levinstein.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Chris Eberly, motoring right back to my childhood.
Childhood never ends, my friend. Childhood.
No, it doesn't.
If you're listening and not watching, I was bringing across the screen my groovy 1970s die-cast metal Captain America Hot Wheels van.
Mellow set of wheels.
Yeah, oh, Murd, perfect. And when you look to the back, there's a viewfinder, and you see
Nice.
it looks like a Frank Springer rendition of Captain America flinging his shield at you.
Nice.
Springer.
Shane, that was for you, buddy.
Oh, boy.
Well, here I think a couple acquisitions since last time.
Ooh.
Zartan?
Zartan.
Not just Zartan. Zartan! All right, perfect.
And
Look at the midriff. Look at
this hood. It's a hood.
Wow.
It is finally designated a hood.
That is a badass Zartan, I must
You
say.
mean it wasn't his hair? Wow.
I don't think it was ever intended to be his hair, but in the cartoon it sure looked like his hair.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's news to me.
And then this is the new Cobra Trooper that was just released.
Wow.
Very nice.
It's a little different than the Target eBay exclusive. Because,
Different regiments could have variations in uniforms.
Yeah. Comes with a little bit less accessories,
Yeah.
different color scheme, but it still looks good.
And the one I'm getting for you is yet to arrive, Shane, but I'm keeping an eye out.
Oh, cool. Yeah, end of the month, next month, something like that.
Where'd you get the others, Shane, from Target?
No, so I have them on pre-order, one each, because that's all you were allowed through Hasbro's Pulse site.
Okay.
And then somebody said that GameStop, of all places, had them for pre-order again, and they were shipping.
Okay.
So I went and looked on GameStop's site, and they had Zartan, and I clicked to get a Zartan, and Cobra Trooper was gone. And that's fine. And then it took a couple weeks until it came because it really went to back order as soon as I ordered it. But still, my other pre-order is still out there somewhere in the world waiting to be shipped from Hasbro. The Cobra Trooper I got from Entertainment Earth. I got a couple of them. And they came last week. So that's really early compared to some of the other ones.
Nice.
Shane, I'm always
Take
interested in your toy fairing adventures.
Well, I watch because I hardly go anywhere right now. Two reasons. One, because of the pandemic. Two, because all the shelves are bare yet. But I do watch videos of people toy hunting, and they find stuff, but there's whole gaps of weeks where they find nothing, and the shelves are bare. So I'm not going to waste my time going out looking for anything. I don't look for much except G.I. Joe right now.
I can imagine you watching videos of people, as you've said before, going to Toys R Us Canada and you just shaking your fist.
Oh my God!
Like, how could you?
Yeah. Well. Okay. So with this Joe line, that Target Cobra Trooper and Beachhead, and this version of Roadblock, and the Baroness with her coil cycle, whatever that is, they were all Target exclusives down here.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over the place in Canada right now.
Of course.
And Hasbro has the Viper and Firefly, which were, again, Target exclusives. They're available on Hasbro Pulse's UK site for pre-order. Now, the Viper one sold out like that. There were only a few of them online. Yeah. But just the fact that they're able to do that, I'm glad the UK people can get a chance, because it's at least right there. If you could get it, you could order it. But man, the Target exclusives are insanely frustrating.
But that's also, that's the same as rights deals that we have with television. Even.
Oh yeah.
It's like, think about the fact that Titans airs on Netflix overseas. It's HBO Max now, but it was DC Universe before then.
Yep.
Literally anybody with a Netflix subscription elsewhere could watch it there.
Same with Discovery.
Yep, that's Amazon Prime, I think. Elsewhere. Yeah. So, oh no, I'm sorry. Picard is Amazon Prime. Discovery is Netflix.
Oh God, I didn't know it was even broken up that much. Oof.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous
Wow.
overseas. Yeah. All right. Well, before we get too far into the episode, as usual, we'll go ahead and thank you, the listeners, for the contributions that you have been making to the Patreon. And that is over at patreon.com/comicgeekspeak with our wonderful CGS Man logo at the top there. And we're at 96 patrons at $283 per month.
Oh, thank you so much.
Indeed. Yep. As usual, as we say every episode, you keep the lights on, you keep it running here, and you ensure that this show has a future outside of us really wanting to do it, but it takes money to do it. And you guys very much make that happen. So we thank you so much for that. And
Thank
for
you.
And thank you to anybody who's doing old school donations as well, because we do still get occasional PayPal donations. So if you're not the type of person who wants to do Patreon, you can still just head to the website and go to comicgeekspeak.com/donate.php and follow the PayPal instructions on there, and one-time donation, and that's that. So thank you so much for your support in any way, shape, or form.
And Levy-Poo, don't you have your own Patreon as well?
I do, yes. That's patreon.com/comic timing. And speaking of comic timing, anybody who is a listener of the show or even is just tangentially interested, we're going to be running in about 2 weeks our 15th anniversary episode of Comic Timing, because somehow that happened. And we're going to be doing the Snyder Cut because some of our most contested and controversial episodes were us talking about Zack Snyder movies, whether it be Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, or Justice League. Now we're going to do the Justice League Snyder Cut, and longtime friend of the show and some semi-regular Jamal Igo will be a part of that, along with hopefully Raf Suhu, Donovan, Brent, and Chris and Brandon. So it'll be a full house, and we're going to run that on the Comic Timing feed, and probably even the Comic Geek Speak feed as well, and probably even the Comic Geek Speak YouTube, since I am going to zoom it. So
go for it.
Stay tuned for the further.
And when is that premiere on HBO Max?
That premieres next week, actually, the same day as Winter Soldier and Falcon, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the 19th, I think, right?
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we were saying pre-show that some of our listeners may very well have watched it already.
Yeah.
Because there was
I thought they were watching Tom and Jerry.
A snafu.
Exactly. Yeah. Or they found out and then immediately were like, "Crap! I got to go watch Tom and Jerry."
There's no shame in watching Tom and Jerry. Come on.
Oh yeah,
I love Tom and Jerry.
Funny enough, that's why we recorded a half hour later than usual tonight, because Martha was watching Tom and Jerry with some of her school kids. But they went to load Tom and Jerry, and rather than Tom and Jerry, the Snyder Cut loaded. So a bunch of people out there got to watch it 2 weeks early, and they've been pretty mum on it. I really haven't seen any spoilers running about. So
one preliminary question I have: is this supposed to be that drastically different from what was released in theaters?
That's what they say.
Let's put it this way, Chris. The original cut of the movie is about 2 hours. This one's 4.
Oh, geez, that could be a really bad thing, depending.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Snyder's lack of cuts.
And
Exactly.
wasn't there a Justice League extended one that was almost 3?
No, they never did.
that?
They never did an extended of Justice League. They did one of Batman v Superman.
Superman. Okay.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember.
That one. I actually prefer the extended cut
I do too.
To the original with that one. But this
I
one,
do too.
all the future scenes that you thought would have happened are included in this. Slight spoilers for people who haven't seen the trailers. Apparently, Jared Leto's Joker is going to be in there somewhere.
Oh.
There's going to be probably, I think they filmed new end scenes as well, so there might be a little bit more Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke in there, along with Lex Luthor. And pretty much it's just like every single thing that Zack Snyder wanted to do is going to be in this.
All right.
And we'll see what happened.
Stay tuned for our reaction.
I still don't like the way Darkseid and Steppenwolf look.
Yeah, Steppenwolf looks a little bit better now, but he still kind of looks like a pincushion.
Yeah.
Oh, is Darkseid supposed to be in this new cut? Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's an actual big bad. Because, I mean, from everything I've heard, they're leading to a sequel that will never happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because everything that they've said over at DC is that we're done with this, but we're letting this happen because A, we need material for HBO Max, and B, there was enough demand. So that's going to happen. So we'll see. And also, before we forget to mention it, before we get started here, Murd, a reminder about the best of 2020.
Oh, yes, certainly, Ian. Yes, the final voting for the recipients of the CGS Best of 2020 Awards is still in progress. By the time you hear this, you'll have a little over a week to get those ballots in. Yes, the voting will end Sunday, March 21st, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. So just seek out the list of nominees. You can find it on our Facebook supergroup page or at thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com. We ask that you vote for one and only one nominee in 12 out of the 16 categories. Now, we apologize. We know not everybody has read everything. You might not be familiar with everything in every category, but please do us that favor and vote for 12. Vote in 12 of the 16 categories. Send your ballot into Comic Geek Speak. To best of, beg your pardon, to best of at comicgeekspeak.com by the time and date stipulated, and we'll tabulate your votes, and we will be announcing the final winners of the Best of 2020 Awards in an upcoming episode of this very podcast.
Yes, indeed. Meanwhile, comics.
Yes.
Been a while since we've had a comic talk, and there is both media and comic books to talk about, for sure. How about we start off with the spoilers and get that out of the way?
Sounds good.
And let's discuss some WandaVision.
Okay.
It's my oh my. And yet again, no earmuffs for Murd. That makes me very happy.
Yeah.
On the same page as the rest of you gentlemen, and I couldn't be happier.
Excellent. So we're going to talk the rest of the series here. So if you have not watched until episode 9 of WandaVision, now will be the time for your earmuffs. And I'll go ahead and put some markers in the YouTube version for anybody who wants to skip ahead. But thoughts on the series as a whole? I guess Chris, might as well start off with you.
Oh, honored. I loved it. I think, first of all, although I have some mixed feelings about the last episode, I love the overall series immensely.
Yeah.
High marks to Marvel for adapting one of their most complicated, edgiest characters.
Oh yeah.
And taking on really one of the darker aspects of that universe in terms of one of their heroic characters. Because the Vision, the Scarlet Witch, because they obviously borrow from various plot lines from over the years. And I was really impressed on how deep they went with it, right down to like, you see that the kids are not even real, like as they start to disintegrate, essentially. Actually, just torn about which reality to go into. And like I think they really honored the essence of that character and of course, her relationship with the Vision. And another testament to how good it is that my wife watched the whole thing with me.
Wow.
One little caveat, and I think this is very typical of a lot of people who are not comic people who watch this stuff. She loved it until the fighting at the end, then she was bored. And I have to admit, I think it's maybe because I'm getting older, I was bored too. I think this is more just my sensibility now as a viewer of these things.
Yeah.
I find the fights the least interesting part of any of this stuff at this point.
Well, and some of that also for me is,
despite how cool her costume looked. But anyway, go ahead.
I don't disagree with that, but we've also gone from what we wanted, starting with Christopher Reeve Superman, all the way to Avengers Endgame. I mean, it's hard to top that kind of a fight scene.
Fair point.
In Endgame. So some things come across, okay. Yep, they're fighting. Yay.
Yeah. So again, it's not even really a quibble. It's just something more about me now as a viewer and a reader than anything else. But I think she should be nominated for an Emmy.
Oh, sure.
I thought her performance was tremendous. They were both tremendous, but she really had to carry. I mean, she did the research. The people who wrote this show did the research, and like the accent going in and out, and when Agatha Harkness took her through, her memories, and that the scene where she's in the Avengers compound was so well acted.
Yeah.
When they're sitting on the bed watching the TV, and he's trying to make, that human connection he's struggling with, and you can tell how much she's, moved by what he's trying to do. Like they have such tremendous chemistry, those two actors, and they so clearly understand the characters that they're playing, that I can't wait to see what else they do with it. The only few comments I made, I loved the modern version of her costume at the end. I thought that it looked good.
Yeah.
And it really sprang from the comics, essentially. That was really well done. The only thing that kind of struck me as odd was, and it's kind of in keeping with the world of the books too. She just kind of goes away after like destroying the lives of a large number of people in this town.
Yeah.
And Monica Rambeau is like, they'll never know what they did for her. I'm thinking, well, she did take away all their identities for a lengthy period of time. So I don't know how grateful they should feel about anything else at this point.
Yeah.
Into psychological and physical torture.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see if how they carry that forward. Now here's what I want to see. I want to see a trip to Wundagore Mountain, because they've tied her into the Darkhold part of her history, which Murd and I are both very familiar with, and I'd love to see them pursue that further. Because the other thing is, what you guys thought. I was half expecting to go into the mutant terrain, but they didn't.
Yeah,
So,
I'm very glad they didn't, because it would have been giving too many fans exactly what they wanted. And I think the tease in this is one of the things that made me love it as much as I did. Like you thought it was going to go one way just because we're nerds. But if you had gone too much into that lore, then you would have lost the plebes, or the non-comic book people even further, and that would have been its own problem.
which is a large number of the people watching the show.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Especially when you're on something like Disney Plus, which has tons of non-comic book people on it. Like you got to keep things grounded.
But emphasizing the witchcraft side of her story, so to speak, by going into the Darkhold and all of that they could do a lot of interesting things with that. Hell, I want to see the High Evolutionary. Damn it! Like there's a lot they could do. I want to see like anthropomorphic ape people, like
God.
like the Knights of Wundagore. Like there's a lot they could do with this.
Definitely.
So I overall I loved it, and I just applaud them for starting off with such a challenging part of the Marvel universe.
Yep. No question about it. Murd?
Well, I found it extremely enjoyable too. I was able to predict precisely none of the plot developments, which makes me as as much impressed with the creative team behind the series as I am disappointed in myself.
Go easy on yourself, Murd.
Yes. But yeah, there were a lot of really exciting moments. I mean, the arrival of Evan Peters on the scene was something I don't think anybody saw coming, which led to such rampant fan theorizing. And I confess to being a little bit disappointed, Ian, that they didn't lean into that a little bit further than they did. I mean,
Yeah, they pulled a real boner.
Yeah.
Yes. Wah, wah. Yeah, I thought maybe this would be, as Chris said, I thought maybe this would be a good way to, a good backdoor by which to admit all the mutant lore into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like I was thinking at one point, even maybe we'd find out that the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as we've known it so far, has just been a House of M type scenario that Wanda created, and that it was always supposed to involve Reed Richards and company and mutants and so on and so forth. But you're probably right, Ian, that's a lot to throw at a largely layperson audience all at once.
Right, and at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean we've seen the last of Evan Peters nor the character.
No, I do wish that they would have kept him as another universe's Pietro.
Yeah, as opposed to Ralph Boner of, of Earth 616.
Yeah.
That's one of the bigger disappointments I had.
But I love that in the end, all of Agnes's references to her husband Ralph were all him. That was my
That's
favorite.
true, right? I didn't think about that.
That was my favorite part.
Good point.
The off-screen husband that we never see was always him. So that's hilarious.
Something Matt pointed out on the CGS forums, Senor Scratchy, the rabbit, is kind of an oblique reference to her son from the comics, Nicholas Scratch.
I didn't even catch that.
There we go. But
Wow.
yeah, just Catherine Hahn as Agnes / Agatha in general. Yeah, showing that she's, that there's more to her than the comedy. She's got some range as an actress herself.
Yeah.
And I love the way that she was insinuated into the story. It was her all along, and how crazy is it that a little Munsters theme song parody about how she was the bad guy all along winds up topping the iTunes charts.
Even better, Murd. There's a video on YouTube of the 14 different languages that they had to sing that song in, because there's that many different audio tracks of this available on Disney Plus. And it's amazing how well it works in pretty much every single language.
Was it the same group of singers every time?
No, it's a different one for each language, but still they get the feel of the song down. Yeah.
What do we think about how they used Agatha Harkness in the show? Well, especially as the sort of the villain of the piece there.
Was not disappointed. She was at least a somewhat sympathetic villain. That little flashback to the 17th century. Salem, Massachusetts certainly helped with that. I loved that the look of the character, her costuming, the way that they found a plot connected way to retain that little cameo roach.
I saw that. Yep.
And have it have some significance to her character and her backstory in this iteration of reality. Have it make sense. Yeah, and then the way that she actually, in the comics, as we all know, Agatha Harkness was not an antagonist to Wanda, but her mentor,
right,
in the use of actual magic,
and a babysitter for the Richards clan.
Yes, yes, and also I think one of the head matrons of the New Salem colony out in Colorado, if I'm remembering correctly. But here she's a bit less sympathetic, but they at least retain some of her pathos, and she does in a way educate Wanda. Gives her a kind of a crash course in her own nature and the nature of the chaos magic she wields, and it's and her final fate is just too perfect for words.
Oh, what a torment! God.
Yes, and it's also a torment out of which she can easily be unboxed if she's needed in some future story. If Wanda needs a little more coaching.
Yep. Yeah, and that was my favorite part is we've gotten further away from the Marvel trope of the villain dies in the end, which was the case in so many of the early movies because they were just throwaways. Like for these, villains haven't died, meaning that they can come back. The fact that we're getting Zemo in Falcon and Winter Soldier is because they did not kill him in Winter Soldier. In Civil War, even though they could have, they chose not to. And that was the smart thing to do, really. So yeah, keeping these characters around for future use makes a lot of sense.
Yep. If it was good enough for Stanley, it's good enough for these people.
Exactly.
So, White Vision.
Yes.
I was going to bring that up.
Yep.
Had a pretty serious fangasm when we got Avengers West Coast John Byrne Pale Vision.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
Yep. I kind of saw this coming, and this was one of the few instances that I called, but at the same time, I didn't call how they did it. I initially thought that Wanda was going to try to bring Vision back, and in doing so, she was going to essentially wipe the version of Vision that she knew, and in turn, we get White Vision. The way they did it instead, with the Vision that we've been seeing all series, not even really being Vision, but the bit of the Mind Stone that Wanda had, and the bit that she absorbed from Thanos, because that in essence was Vision, was fascinating. The only question I have, was that a dummy body they had on display for Wanda, or did they just put him together really freaking fast?
I kind of wonder if it wasn't a dummy that they had.
Yeah, because for them to get to that level suddenly is just a little bit hard to believe.
How long was she in the town though?
Not long.
I think only a few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might only have been a few days.
Yeah, well, it could have been. Yeah.
Yeah. From everything that they seem to imply, this was not happening for very long.
And it looked like a makeshift portable base that they had set up. It wasn't something that's been permanent, which if it had been months or years, you'd think it would be more of permanent buildings than breakdown and move easily kind of base.
Yep. Yeah. And
in terms of the White Vision, I love how they've of course now opened the door to the Vision to actually return.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I like how so-called fake Vision had a hand in reconditioning real Vision.
Yeah. Yes. Now, I do have to vary with you guys. I thought the fight scene between the two Visions, the visual use of their phasing
that was
powers,
cool.
for example,
No, that was cool.
That was fantastic.
It was amazing.
I also appreciate that the fight ended via logic.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
That was so
that was a great scene.
That was so within the characters.
Yes, it was.
Because they're
Boy,
so
Thomas would have been
logic-based.
proud of that scene.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
and just the way his face looks there in that picture, he at this point looks evil.
Yeah, he does.
Absolutely hideous.
Yeah. And you could tell too that like it wasn't necessarily because he was built that way or anything like that. It's just
No.
he is a machine,
Yeah.
and he was programmed to be this way. There is no Mind Stone giving him life at this point. However, just like any other entity, it all depends on your memories. And the fact that Mind Stone Vision was able to unlock the memories of this Vision means that the emotions could very well still be there, and that this could very well still be our Vision, as was displayed by the changing of the color of the eyes.
I think they are. I absolutely think it is.
Yeah. Yep. The one thing that annoyed me though, is just how quickly he just disappeared. The fact that he flies off and he's never seen again.
I expected him to show up again at the end.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a cock tease there. Like I was fully expecting more from that, and then it just didn't happen. Which makes sense when you only have a limited amount of time. I was also half expecting that last episode to be an hour and a half, because they could have. We got the longest episode that we got, but I was honestly expecting longer.
Now, I really loved the whole show as a saga, as a movie.
Yeah.
I loved how it started with the throwback to old sitcom TV with no real explanation, because I do know some people that were lost on that and could have cared less, but because I like old sitcom TV shows. I grew up watching reruns of them, so I really enjoyed it.
Right there with you, brother.
Yep.
My mother raised me on I Love Lucy, so yeah.
Yeah. I in the back of my head, as the first couple episodes went along, I did in the back of my head think, oh my God, what if they bring in X-Men Pietro in? Boy, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
And that's the closest I got to calling anything in the whole show.
Same here.
And it was great. I do wish they would, I said it before, they would have left him as Pietro from that universe. And you're right, we may see him again in some capacity, and that would be great too.
Yeah.
I think for the episode that he was Quicksilver at Halloween, stole the show in a lot of ways. He was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
All their costumes were great, being kind of homemade versions of what they should have looked like from the old comics. I loved how they unfolded the real big baddie, because I had no clue who that was at first. My lore in Marvel is not nearly as strong as the rest of you, especially Chris and Adam. I didn't know who Agnes was. I had to look her up because I just don't know that kind of history for Scarlet Witch, but I loved it. I liked how they went with the kids. I liked how they went with Vision. I liked how he, as the Mind Stone Vision, kind of had his own evolution in that world, realizing somewhat what was going on, maybe not coming to the conclusion till the very end, but then helping White Vision come to terms with what he was, unlocking those memories like you all said. I absolutely love that they brought in and gave purpose to Darcy and
Yes, it's good to see that character
Wu?
again. Jimmy Woo.
Jimmy Woo. Absolutely love that they were in there, because I like the fact that this is one universe and they do use all these characters, yet I don't feel like it's forced in a lot of ways. Like other movies, when you see characters cross over from property to property, sometimes it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
This really feels like a natural thing to do. I like how this is the first time we get to see grown-up Monica Rambeau. All just fantastic parts of this show.
And go ahead, Ian.
I was just going to say, I forget whether we mentioned this on the the first couple of episodes that we discussed, but I think it really helped that they brought on sitcom veterans to assist
good point. That's a
with
good
this.
point. Yep.
The fact that both Darcy and Woo's actors have sitcom backgrounds,
Sure.
fresh off the boat, and Two Broke Girls.
Two Broke Girls.
help
Absolutely.
with this a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, to piggyback on Shane's point, is that like with the Darcy character, they show that her character, because we haven't seen her since the second Thor film.
Yeah, Thor: The Dark
that
World.
Her character's progressed. She's now like an astrophysicist or whatever she is. She has a doctorate. She's obviously very capable, but she still has that cutting sense of humor. And what I loved about Jimmy Woo is that in Ant-Man, he was there for comic relief. Where in this film that was still there, but they also showed how, because the Jimmy Woo of the comics is a really capable espionage agent.
Yeah.
And that you saw more of that in this series, where he's outthinking the other government spooks. He has combat prowess in terms of hand to hand, because Jimmy Woo is, I think, one of the earliest Asian characters in comics.
Dates back to the 50s.
Yeah, if he's an Atlas character in the very much a book of its time, the Yellow Claw character. So Jimmy Woo predates the Marvel universe in that sense, and they folded him into S.H.I.E.L.D. and so forth. But
and you're right, they still had some of his comedic stuff there from Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I also like that they put his sleight of hand that he got from Ant-Man in there.
Oh, my favorite moment with Woo was the I'm gonna have agents here in an hour, and then he has to be on the phone like, hey, could you get here in an hour?
yeah. Now
no, they were really well used.
Yeah,
I liked how we got extra credit scenes through some of the episodes. It wasn't through every single one, but I liked what we got. The only thing I really thought would have happened at the end of this, and I liked the extra credit scenes we got through this. It was satisfying. I really thought they were going to not lead into Winter Soldier and Falcon, because that would have disappointed me.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. That's already going to be huge on Disney Plus. I didn't need them to introduce them on this show. So I'm glad that didn't happen. I really thought they were going to bring in Doctor Strange at the end to tie into the next movie.
Well,
I thought that there would be a movie cameo in that way.
See, and I can understand why they didn't. But
I can.
But in the way they did, because Scarlet Witch is going to be in Doctor Strange. That's been confirmed. She's going to be in it. And remember the original slate of movies. I'm going to see if I can find it. This show was initially only supposed to be happening like a month before the release of Doctor Strange, because before the coronavirus came in and changed the slate of Marvel movies, this show was supposed to be second release, not first, and it was supposed to be essentially timed where immediately afterwards in May we're going to get the release of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I found the original chart here, so let me go ahead and bring that up. But,
do they have a new release date for that movie now?
Yeah, next year.
Okay.
So that's how long we're going to have to wait for this now, due to that. But yeah, as you can see from the list that I have here, spring 2021 was the initial release date for WandaVision. So we got that a little bit early. Because they finished it a little bit early and they didn't have Winter Soldier done. And May 7th, 2021, we were supposed to be getting Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So that's why this leads in as much as it does.
Yeah.
Probably why they didn't film a scene with Doctor Strange, because you were literally going to get Doctor Strange either way.
So Ian, looking at this handy dandy chart here, to adjust to our new reality. So Black Widow is the next film coming out, I assume.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Black Widow.
And that's the way it always was. That was the next film.
Yeah. It got delayed essentially a year.
And so that's coming out this spring.
That's coming out this spring in May.
Okay.
Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out a week after we record this.
Right.
And then it's nothing till Loki comes out the month after that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. So all the TV shows didn't really get too delayed. Just a little bit of changing in the schedules. Hawkeye will probably come shortly after Loki because they're filming that right now.
Yeah.
But we get 3 movies this year. We get Doctor Strange. Sorry, we don't get Doctor Strange. We get, if I remember correctly, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals all this year. And then after that, we get Doctor Strange and Thor next year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Spider-Man is this year.
And
so
Spider-Man, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Spider-Man is this year. Yep.
Spider-Man is this year?
This year or next year?
Spider-Man is this year, if I remember
Oh,
correctly.
wow.
I think Spider-Man is December.
Wow.
Which means I
thought
might
that
not
was
be
next
right.
year.
I might not be right on Shang-Chi then. Maybe Shang-Chi did get delayed.
And
but-
is Spider-Man going to be this multiverse thing they've been hinting at? Or
We don't know that yet.
They haven't said. However, they did reveal the name of the movie,
Yeah.
which is what can't
No
Go-
Way Home.
No Way Home. Yeah, which does kind of imply being lost in the multiverse.
Yeah.
So yeah, if everything we've been hearing is correct, then that's the case. Yeah, July 9th, 2021 is Shang-Chi. So the month that 2 months after Black Widow, we get Shang-Chi.
You know, if I may, just totally out of my butt here, but what I'd love to see them do with Spider-Man eventually. I mean, we're getting Joe Jonah Jameson, which is overdue, and I'm thrilled for that. I would love, again, this would take time though, like over multiple movies. I'd love to see them build up a good Peter relationship with either MJ or bring in Harry, or best of all, bring in Gwen and develop that. And then you do, for the first time, completely right the Green Goblin.
Oh boy.
I would love to see that. I mean, I don't know if they may never do that, but it just hasn't been done properly as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with you. I don't think it would work in this iteration.
Yeah, I think we'll get Green Goblin as some sort eventually. I hope we do get it as close to right as possible, but I do agree with Shane though that it may have been done one too many times.
Yeah,
that's why I'm despairing, because it's been so, they went to that well so many times and so quickly.
Yeah.
And
it really pains me to see Willem Dafoe's original costume, mask, whatever, that would have been so much better than what we got.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved how he acted. Don't get me wrong. I thought he was great.
No,
but
tremendous. The costume was ridiculous.
The way they did that was horrendous compared to what you now see as this is what it should have been, and this is what we were working at, and it looks phenomenal.
Well, luckily with the power of Zoom, I can show that to the listeners.
Ooh.
Anybody who's on
because you know what, I've never seen this.
I think I may have shown it to you one time before, Chris, but this
oh yes, you have shown me. Yep, so much better.
This is the original look, and that it was very much more comic book than Power Rangers.
But what's great about that look is the actor is acting with that mask.
Yeah,
that intensifies the terror and the madness of the Goblin.
Well, and especially with a guy like Willem Dafoe who can do that.
Oh yeah.
It would have just made so much more sense, but not the way they decided to
C'est
go.
la vie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I will share, going back to WandaVision for a moment. We mentioned her final look and how
I loved it.
Amazing.
Loved it. Loved it.
And see, the only thing that I wish is
so
that
good.
It was a little bit of, if only it had been a little bit of a lighter shade of red.
Well, see, I like darker maroons, so I was okay with it. But I know what you're saying. It's not quite that dark in comics.
Yeah, she's not the maroon magician. She is the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Yes. And the drop of the name Scarlet Witch too, the way that they actually
I like how they did that.
Oh, that was weighted, man. Whew.
So good. Well, actually giving it purpose.
Yeah.
Rather than just naming the character, because they set up earlier on in the show that she's never had a code name. Which is true. She's only ever been Wanda.
You see, that moment you just referenced there, Ian, that is another thing that it was a red herring to me. Because when Director Hayward dropped that question in the middle of his debriefing, it was kind of a leading question. It was almost like he was expecting to be told Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy Woo just kind of looked at him and was like, no, she's just Wanda. And that's what made me think, incorrectly of course, that Hayward might turn out to be Immortus.
Right.
Because anticipating the Scarlet Witch moniker might suggest he had knowledge of this reality that would come from a position outside, like as of a time traveler or a visitor from another dimension.
Considering that we are getting Kang at some point, I mean, hey, you never know.
Nice. And Immortus did officiate at Wanda and Vision's wedding in the comics, so it would have made sense. But again, what do I know?
So if people want to read more into the background of what we're talking about, this Avengers trade, it's been reproduced many times, either the Knights of Wundagore or the Yesterday Quest. essential of reading. It's John Byrne, David Michelini stuff, Mark Grunwald, but it goes into like the magic side of Wanda's history, at least in the comic universe. It's classic stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing that I wanted to bring up is, I mean, talking about the red herrings and stuff like that, I feel like this series works so well as a week-to-week scenario, mostly because of those red herrings, because it got anticipation up so high. And you were like, oh my God, where are they going next on this? Like, is it this? Is it that? Is it that? Whether you knew the comics or not, you know, all these theories are running about. Like, it brought back week-to-week television for the first time in years.
Well, I think Mandalorian did that first.
That's fair. That's
in a lot
fair.
of ways.
Yeah, very good.
But I do think WandaVision was broader viewed by non-specific people. Like a lot of Star Wars people and a lot of non-Star Wars people watched Mandalorian. I think more non-comic book readers watched WandaVision than the other way with Mandalorian.
Yeah,
just my opinion.
What do we think of how they applied Monica Rambeau and her gaining her powers?
I liked it.
In this.
It's the kind of, I'm even going to go ahead and say lazy excuse for the bestowal of powers that Roy Thomas used to write into his stories all the time, just to mention his name again in the course of this episode. Yeah, it's just she passed through Wanda's hex field, and now she has whatever powers the showrunners want her to have.
Well, I kind of wonder, would it make sense that she had that spark from what happened in the Captain Marvel movie and Wanda's powers just triggered it?
Well, we never really saw the kid display any sort of powers, though. You know,
No.
like, I mean, yes, she did good. Oh, wait, was she on the ship? I'm trying to remember, or did they leave her behind?
She was. No, they left her behind.
Yeah, yeah. So,
No,
like,
they did leave her behind.
Yeah, so I can't really think of anything that in that movie in particular that would have led to this. However, one thing that they didn't really mention as much is whether or not the snap may have somehow also related to this, because she's had her atoms rearranged like 4 times.
Yeah.
You know, she disappeared in the snap and she came back.
That's a good observation. Yep.
She went into the field, then she came out. She went into the field, then she came out. She went into the field. And, you know, that I think that may have very well been one of the contributing factors to, you know, to her getting her abilities like this. And I love that because of the sword, because of the sword, because of the sword costume, it sort of evokes her costume.
It's very evocative of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, without actually going there, I really appreciated that.
So let's see how they're going to call her. Photon, Spectrum. Well, I'm not going to call her Captain Marvel.
Her code name was Photon.
Oh, was it? Okay, I didn't catch that. Right,
like her flying moniker was Photon. They said that. Yeah, her call sign. Thank you. Was Photon. So I think they'll just stick with that.
All right.
This part. Yeah. But and reveal also didn't even think. Oh, of course we're gonna get Skrulls. You know, like that didn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, we get Skrulls. So
I guess that is as close as a true movie gimmick that you got in here was the Skrulls coming in.
Yep.
Well, because she's going to go off and obviously meet with Nick Fury.
Right.
Yeah.
So Avengers Initiative Part 2 is already in motion.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and she's also supposed to be in Captain Marvel 2. So whether she shows up in Secret Invasion first or whether she shows up in Captain Marvel 2, either way, she's going to have Skrull, you know, things going on.
I would have liked, and this is just more my sappiness, I would have liked if through going in and out of the field when she was struggling so badly that time and things seemed to be happening, I would have liked a quick little flashback with her mom, newly filmed, so we could just see her in this.
Yeah.
Shane,
I mean, I know they were referenced, but I just would have liked that. I know that.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I also wouldn't be surprised if we get more of her mom in Captain Marvel 2.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just because I think there'll at least be one scene between her mom and Carol.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, while she was snapped, Carol came to see her mom before her mom passed.
Yeah.
You know, because like it doesn't seem like a scenario where like Carol would have missed all of that.
No.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I think they did an excellent job here. Every single song is stuck in my head to this very day, and it will be for some time to come. And frankly, Falcon and Winter Soldier has some very big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it with breathless anticipation.
Yeah.
Yep, I think it's going to cobble its own pair of shoes, personally.
Nice.
Not going to try to fill those shoes. It's just going to go off in its own direction.
Yeah.
And
But
one more
Do you know how many
MCU
episodes
question.
that series is going to be?
I'm sorry, Mer, go ahead.
It's probably 8 or 9.
Right. Yeah. I would assume pretty much all of these shows are going to be about 8 or 9 episodes, give or take.
Because I think generally, if you take all the time that makes the shows, you get an extended movie. And that's really what they go for, in my opinion. Because, I mean, if it was a movie, you would not have had the first 2 episodes of WandaVision be as extensive as they were in the movie. You would have had trimmed down versions or a combination of those. But the rest of the whole show would have played out in a movie
Yeah.
fairly
Murd,
easily.
actually, it's going to be 6, according
Oh,
to.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So this
Even better.
one. Yep. Exactly.
That's even shorter.
Yeah. A nice tight story. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
What's the didn't I hear that Chris Evans wants to retake on the mantle again?
There'll be rumors until the end of time.
Okay.
Whether or not he actually does, we shall see. Whether or not we get an old Cap, just giving fatherly advice to people is another way that they could go with this, because I don't think we're going to suddenly get a young Chris Evans.
I dig see an old Cap in action that way.
Yeah.
And Black Panther 2, they announced they're not going to have a Black Panther in it, right? Or at least no one's going to take up the mantle.
No one is going to take up Chadwick Boseman's mantle. Yes, there will
Okay.
not be T'Challa. It doesn't mean we're not going to get Black Panther, because we could
Yeah.
very easily get his sister in the role.
Right.
But they've been very cagey about what's going to be in Black Panther 2. I know it's slated for next year, but we have Thor: Love and Thunder before that, and I don't think they've even started production yet on Black Panther. So it's a long way to go.
God, I was watching the first Black Panther. It's such a good movie.
It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And some set shots from Thor: Love and Thunder so far say that we are going to get some as Guardians of the Galaxy action, as looks like we're definitely getting Star-Lord in at least a couple of scenes. So that'll be super fun.
Is Hemsworth supposed to be in that too?
In Guardians of
no?
the Galaxy?
No, in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh yeah, mhm.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
is. Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, he's filming the scenes. An incredibly buff Natalie Portman is already filming on set. I've seen some pictures of her. Like, she looks like she has been doing nothing but working out while in isolation. Like, it is amazing.
You think it's all natural muscle or prosthetics?
I think it's mostly natural muscle, Murd. It looked like those forearms were legit. Like, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure there's probably gonna be some padding in the costume, but they did a really good job of getting her in shape. I think she's on the Hugh Jackman diet, essentially.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, I think for a first Disney Plus outing for Marvel,
Oh yeah.
Oh, knocked it out of the park.
this couldn't have
Yep.
been any better.
Yeah.
Really. Yep.
Because again, they I don't know if you'd say they take a risk, because it's Disney, but they took on a storyline that outside of people like us, nobody really knows about those stories at all. And they did. I think they did justice to them. Like they didn't like take like a quick little side exit and try to chicken out. Like, they really went for it. I mean, they really showed you how dangerous she is.
Yeah.
Well, of course, there's the pathos and you feel sympathy for her, but at the same time, you're like, wow, she's like basically potentially this weapon that could rewrite all reality.
Mad God.
Yeah. So they really went for it. I loved it.
And from that final scene there, with her at the secluded cabin, we see her essentially doing what Doctor Strange did in his first movie, astral projecting, learning more, while at the same time going about her business.
Yeah.
And we hear in the background the cries of her children, which says to me that, the multiverse of madness, I think we know where we're going with this. Like, is she going to be the true villain of Multiverse of Madness? We don't know. So it's going to be
Looking forward
really
to it.
interesting. Yep. One more comment that I have to make, springboarding off what you said, Chris, is this is a show that I can say benefited from the pandemic delays. because I think that had we gotten Falcon and Winter Soldier first, this show would have landed differently because it's that unique and it's that different. I feel like they needed a show like this to start things off for the Disney Plus Marvel shows. I think if we had gotten something more traditionally Marvel movie, then I don't know how well this show would have landed because expectations would have been different.
And I think if this was not a few years ago, that would have still worked. But if it was a couple years from now, I kind of wonder if the sitcom side of it would have died away a little bit, because those kinds of reruns are getting further and further away from being easily viewed,
Right.
unless you know what you're looking
And,
for.
and they're receding in memory too, because
Yeah.
most people who are significantly younger than us, most of them are not familiar with any of those shows.
No.
I mean, there's always
no.
some people who are, but most people are not. So, like I'll keep making jokes on the show about what's happening, but people don't know what the
Yeah.
hell I'm talking about. So come on.
I'm still disappointed though that two of my predictions didn't happen. That we didn't get a Two Broke Girls riff with Darcy. That she wasn't working at a diner when she got into the into the WandaVision stuff. Although I did enjoy her in essentially the Loki chains, as I'd like to call them, because it's the same chains that both Thor and Loki were in essentially in their own movies. She had to get herself out of.
Yeah.
But also that we didn't get Phil Dunphy. We could have very easily gotten Doc Samson in this show, and they're doing a Modern Family riff. It's too easy to have him in there, but either they didn't think of it or they didn't want it. But that would have just made me so happy because we're getting Blonsky back. We're getting Abomination back, so that Hulk movie still exists.
Well, I always
Absolutely.
thought it did, because even
Yeah.
in the first Avengers movie, he mentions Bruce Banner says about how the last time I was in New York, I just always thought that was in there. It
Yeah.
just-
Plus Tony appears in the
yeah.
at the end.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, it's the least mentioned one, mostly because they don't actually have the rights to it in the same way.
Yeah.
Oh really? What do you mean by that?
It's still Sony.
That was no, it wasn't Sony. It was Universal. They had a split distribution deal.
Oh, okay. I know that.
With Universal, so that's why, like, of all the Marvel movies, that's the only one that works with Voodoo's disc to digital, because it's still technically a Universal movie. So I was able to get a digital copy of that. Which is also why you don't see it on Disney Plus and stuff like that, because the distribution deal itself is different.
Yeah.
What you know what? I'm feeling my advanced middle age. I was about to say something, and I just totally brain farted.
Well, while you think about getting us off your lawn, how many freaking scores do we give the series out of the standard 5?
5 without question.
Oh yeah.
Yep, seems like a 5 to me too.
Yeah.
It's straight up 5. Yeah. I was entertained. This was a show that made me get up at 8 a.m. on a Friday and watch it before I started work, just to ensure that I would not get spoiled. Like that says a lot.
It's pretty easy for me to stay away from social media because I don't go on it during the day when I'm at work. So I had no reservations about being spoiled, because there's no way I really could have been. But it, just like The Mandalorian, it was fun to have, because my older one watched WandaVision more than my younger one. It was still fun on a Friday night after dinner for him to say, "Hey, let's watch WandaVision."
Yeah. Because
there was a span of time where we watched Flash all the time together, and then that kind of died away over the last year or two that Flash was on. To get that back with The Mandalorian and then with WandaVision, I'm looking forward to Winter Soldier coming back to get that again Friday night after dinner, watching something with one of the kids or both of them.
Well, you have a week.
Yeah.
They're doing a very good job of having us have stuff to watch on a Friday.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of TV, since you went ahead and mentioned Flash, has anybody else watched the first 2 episodes of the new season?
I've watched the first. Was it just the first episode of The Flash I watched, and the first 2 of Superman and Lois?
Okay, I've seen the
not
first.
Watched Batwoman yet.
I've seen the first 2 of Superman and Lois. Murd, how many have you seen?
I've seen all 3 of this first season, and the The first and most of the second episodes of The Flash. Season
Wow.
6.5.
Adam's ahead of me on TV. Holy cow.
How about that?
Chris, I assume
Year
you're
of
still
miracles.
3 seasons. I assume you're still 3 seasons behind on all.
Yeah,
of them?
the DC shows, and this is, I mean, outside of when we watched Crisis, which I thoroughly enjoyed, we did that. Actually, it was right before the pandemic, wasn't it? Last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've given up on all that because even though I like it, because if I start to try to watch all this stuff, I start to have this existential crisis about what I'm doing with my life. So that's only about me, not a reflection of anybody else. So I'm probably never going to return to them.
I'll tell you this, Chris. If you do return to any of them, because I know what you like, and I know your favorite heroes. Superman and Lois is by far the best Superman
In a long time.
since the Reeves.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
It's got some gravitas to it.
yeah.
So
really-
that just started, right?
Yeah.
that just started. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
And
3
it's-
episodes in.
Oh, I
It
can probably
seems-
catch up to that then.
It seems to me that so Superman was on Supergirl, and we know what happens there a little bit. It
Yeah.
seems to me this takes place like 10 years later.
Well, see, the thing is, though, it doesn't, and that's only because of Crisis.
Well, true.
Crisis rewrote the universe, and I remember this when we were watching, the Crisis on Infinite Earths, when they went from Lois being, just having a kid to suddenly them having 2 kids.
Yeah.
So I think that when the universe was rewritten, they suddenly went from having a toddler to having teenagers.
Yeah, you're right.
And that allowed them to then
Because at the
springboard
end, she calls him and says about the boys.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now, was that show on CW?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But it's backed by HBO Max.
Oh, good.
So
I hate the
So
CW
it's got a very
commercials.
large budget.
Oh yeah. So
And
so
it shows.
I'll say it has Stargirl budget. Like
Yeah.
you know how beautiful Stargirl
Yeah.
looked. Like this is some of the best special effects you've seen with Superman in quite some
Oh,
time.
wow. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I'll at least watch the first one. Is it on CW or HBO Max?
It's on
CW.
it's on CW, and I'm about to make it even more worth your while, actually,
Ooh,
because
titillation.
I'm gonna show something that's a little bit of a spoiler to the first
fine.
episode. But let me see if I can find it.
And for people listening and watching, spoiler.
Oh yeah, yep, definitely. But yeah, here we are. I think I found it. Okay. In the very first episode of the series, we see this as they're introducing Superman. That's his very first costume.
Oh,
And the scene that he uses it in is spectacular.
Yeah, they
Wow.
do a Grant Morrison-esque introduction to the history of Superman, where he talks about landing and
Yeah.
meeting his
all right.
parents.
I'll
and-
check this out because I
It's-
can
it's really
catch up
good.
quick.
Oh my God. And of course, when he saves the child in this scene, and we see the Fleischer, for those of you on audio, we see a Fleischer-esque Superman costume that he's wearing, and the kid is like, cool costume. And he said, thanks, my mom made it. And then
Yeah.
flies off. It's outstanding.
All right. Thanks, Ian.
Yep.
I mean, I like all the iterations of Superman in some capacity, but this one's really good.
It really is. Yeah. The only problem I have with it is that he really needs to shave. And I know that that's the actor, because Tyler Cocham, I think his name is, just has a forever 5 o'clock shadow, no matter what he does.
By the way, he as a young boy, he was in the Tom Hanks classic Road to Perdition.
Oh, really?
He
Same
played Tom Hanks' son
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
in that film, also with Paul Newman. That's based on a graphic novel too, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
But that's when I remember I was reading about him as Superman, and I realized, wait, that's the same actor. He's been I know he's like 12 or 13 in
Yeah.
Road to Perdition.
I knew he was
Oh,
in
that's
Teen
cool.
Wolf. I didn't realize he was in Road to Perdition. So go figure.
I mean, triple check me, Ian. I'm 99% positive he was the kid in Road to Perdition.
I'm pretty sure you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and check that now. But
Yeah.
yeah, I believe you. Yep.
Yeah, if anybody's never seen Road to Perdition, you love seeing adaptations of non-superhero comics. This is an outstanding. I mean, it's Tom Hanks and Paul Newman, for Pete's sake.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, he was also on the TV show Seventh Heaven. I didn't know that either. So yeah, go
Oh.
figure. Yep.
He's coming home to the CW network.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Back then, I guess it was the WB.
Right.
ah,
The WB.
But for Flash, also, I'd say the most recent season, while you can tell they're working with COVID standards because the first episode legitimately has like 4 actors in it, I think that they're doing a decent job.
And they're dealing with not being able to finish the previous season the way they wanted to, and trying to make it work for the beginning of this season.
Right.
They're doing a good job with that. And Flash always was my favorite. I always thought, I mean, I've watched all of the shows in the end. I've enjoyed them for the most part. I do though think Flash was the best well done and the most well-rounded of all the shows so far, because it wasn't as dark as Arrow, so I could always sit with the kids when they were younger and watched it, and they loved it.
Mhm.
And it was fun and bright compared to almost anything DC at that time when it came out, being dark and grim. I just think it's more easy. It's a show that's easier to have anybody watch it and not be mired down in things, to me.
Yeah.
And what season is it on now?
7.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that the thing about this most recent episode, episode 2, is one of the main problems the Flash has been facing in the last season or so is that he's been losing his super speed, partially because of Crisis, like because of damage that he made to the Speed Force. The Speed Force has been deteriorating, so he has to manufacture his own. And in the most recent episode, due to making this new Speed Force, he accidentally gives him speed thinking, which you'd think would be a good thing, except for the fact that it eventually takes away his emotions.
Yeah. Such a contrived consequence of this new power. It's just,
I know.
It's the writers giving themselves an excuse to use his super thinking to get them help them write themselves out of this predicament.
Yep.
But there's kind of a kill switch in there that gives them an excuse to take the power away, because it would make it almost impossible to create threats and problems that Barry couldn't solve in the blink of an eye.
Exactly.
Afterwards.
Yep.
And it's not without its faults, but I do enjoy that show more than all the others overall, the entire season to season.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to, apparently there's been talk that in Stargirl season 2,
yes,
we may be getting Green Lantern. We may be getting Alan, either whether it be Jade or our Alan Scott, but either way.
and old Flash too, Jay Garrick Flash, which
Yes.
Johnny Thunder's got to be out there. That pink pen is still in the mix.
Yep.
That is very true.
Most importantly, we'll definitely be getting.
Yes, Eclipso. Yes.
Wow. Talk about.
Murd,
did you know we were going to talk about that when you put the shirt on?
Apparently so.
For a television budget, because he can literally be anyone.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All it takes is just a little bit of paint on the face, and then that's about
Maybe
it.
a Spock ear on one side, and
Murd, I sorry, I didn't mean to jump past it. Did you have any further thoughts on Superman and Lois that you wanted to share?
Well, I'm really enjoying it too. It's a great Superman for this period in history. I think it's not at all the show I was expecting us to get, because going in, I knew nothing about it. I didn't even. The biggest surprise for me was that Superman and Lois had kids this time around. I thought we were going to get something more like a more contemporary and less cheesy version of the old Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher show. Instead, I think, given the fact that it's almost as much, at least as much, about Jordan and Jonathan, the Supermans, as it is about Superman and Lois, they might as well have called the show like the Super Sons or the Superman Family or Smallville: The Next Generation. That's basically what it is. I mean, the one thing that disappointed me the most about it, I think, is that it's set in Smallville. They're back in a rural area instead of living their lives in Metropolis.
Yeah,
and that's probably justified by the fact that it's cheaper to film in rural areas, I assume, than it is in a city.
I would think.
But it's a great take on Superman. They get his character, his relationship with Lois, and the trials and tribulations of being a father. They get it just right, I think. Playing him as a father figure makes sense because there's always been kind of a paternalistic aspect to the character. This super powerful or even divine father figure watching out for the entire world, and now they're leaning into that by having him literally raise some kids.
Yeah.
And so the downside of that, I guess, is that some younger it kind of confirms some younger viewers' attitude that Superman is like your dad's generation superhero, because now he's literally a dad. But So I think it's the approach to the character that's going to work best for this medium in the 2020s. It's still very much recognizably the Clark Kent we know and love. He's adapting to fatherhood with all its bumps in the road very well, and the action scenes are also quite good. So rest assured, those of you who haven't seen it yet, he does still. There's a bad guy or two for him to fight.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah.
and again, it's on a larger than average television budget, so it looks.
And although we don't get red suit, red tights, they went with the rebirth suit for the most part, and it works really, really nicely on screen.
I'll have to tell you, he looked fine when he appeared in Supergirl, but he just looks better. I don't know if it's the suit that they tweaked or as he worked out or whatever combination of it. He really does look so much better.
That's good to hear
in the show.
I felt when I saw him in Supergirl, I mean, I really like the actor, but I just felt physically he looked a little underwhelming to be Superman.
Well, they also can't help the fact that he's short.
Yeah, yeah. But they play that off in some capacity with shoes, lift something, because he looks taller in this.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of tricks that can be tried, but I think, both on the part of Tyler Hoechlin and the showrunners of Supergirl, they were, I think, probably trying a little bit to prevent him from upstaging, Melissa Benoist as the title character of that show.
Sure.
They don't have that limitation here. So,
one qualm that I'll have with it is in the very first episode. It's not that big of a spoiler to say this because obviously they had to get back to Smallville somehow. Martha Kent passes away in the first episode. It's very early on. It's basically their moving point to get back to Smallville.
Yeah.
And the fact that Supergirl is not actually at the funeral kind of upset me a little bit.
Yeah.
Not a single mention of cousin Kara in the first 3 episodes.
Exactly. Like you would have thought that she would have at least been there, even if they just had to have her have a cameo and then run off and do something else.
Yeah.
It just made sense, but not.
Or just have Lois or Clark mention that she sends her regrets but couldn't make it. Just to acknowledge that she exists in this universe, as she must.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? Also, it suddenly reminds me that the one issue I had with WandaVision was that they screwed up the timeline a little bit. That they had her when as a kid when she was going ruffling through those DVDs and what have you. The Sokovia stuff was supposed to happen in like 96 or 98, if I remember correctly. And Malcolm in the Middle didn't premiere until 2000.
Well, maybe in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that timeline was sped up.
That's exactly the way that I wrote it off. And I mailed myself a no prize.
Levinstein nitpick. I look forward to it every discussion.
Exactly. Yep. So, there's some really good, it's nice to see TV back. And I'm happy to see it back in full form and doing very well for us. So makes me very happy.
Yeah.
If you guys don't mind, I'm going to transition over to the latest DC offering.
Please.
Before we get into further comics, post Dark Knight's death metal, we have ourselves the Infinite Frontier, and I show the credits page on the video because there's a lot in this. We get Justice League by Bendis and Marquez. We get Superman by Philip Kennedy Johnson and some schlub named Jamal Igle. We get Batman by James Tynion IV and Jorge Jimenez. A Green Arrow and Black Canary by Joshua Williamson and Alex Maleev.
Oh, wow.
Wonder Woman by Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad, art by Alita Martinez. Stargirl by Jeff Johns and Todd Knock.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Joelle Jones writing and drawing Wonder Girl. That's the Flores Wonder Girl. Green Lanterns by Jeffrey Thorne and Dexter Soy. Green Lantern Alan Scott by James Tynion IV and Stephen Byrne. Flash by Williamson and Porter. So one of the last times we'll see Williamson and Porter doing Flash for a while. Teen Titans Academy by Tim Sheridan and Rafa Sandoval and Jordi Tarragona. And an Epilogue by Joshua Williamson and frickin' Ramita Jr. and Klaus Janson. Oh. So they had the big guns on this one. And it works like Rebirth did, where we're getting essentially character vignettes. We're getting little pieces of stories that are going to be happening in further volumes of these characters. But more than anything else, and the biggest focus that I have on this, outside of the fact that Wonder Woman is sort of like the spectral guide throughout this, because after the events of Dark Knight's death metal, she was given the option to essentially become a god. And now she gets to look in on her fellow heroes and decide whether or not she's going to take that offer or be back with them. You can kind of guess what happens in the end because she's Wonder Woman. But the Green Lantern Alan Scott portion of this. Number one, Jade and Obsidian are back, baby.
There you go, Ian.
That's number one. Number two, Infinity Inc. are back, baby.
Wow.
So,
Oh, Murd.
Yep. Number three, Justice Society of America, back.
well, we knew.
We knew, but like they're super back now. Like they're really, really back.
Super back is better than regular back.
That's very true. Alan Scott's Sentinel identity is back.
Oh gosh.
Twist.
Yeah. And they decided to do something which I was not actually expecting. Essentially joining James Robinson's version of Alan Scott in the Earth 2 quote-unquote reboot from the New 52 with this one, Alan Scott comes out as gay.
Huh.
And he does so to Jade and Obsidian. And Obsidian essentially says to his father, I was waiting for you to join me on this. And yeah, he says that he's been hiding things from them for quite some time, and that he hopes that they're okay with it, and of course they are, and they accept him for what he is, and he's going to be essentially the sentinel over at the Watchtower, guarding things, and possibly part of this new Justice League team that's going to be sort of like an outside force rather than a Earth force.
So, Ian, is this book meant as a introduction to a new continuity, essentially?
In ways, yes, because that's kind of what they're doing over at DC in general is continuity itself is very fluid over at DC now, to say the least.
Yeah.
But this is our main continuity that they're setting up.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, where like a lot of pre-52 stuff is reset and back, like Justice Society and what have you. But there's still inklings of what came before, like Jonathan Kent is still around and, running around, but we also have Connor, we have. So
they're kind of picking and choosing stuff from different periods and throwing it all in. Gotcha.
Continuity a la carte.
but they also established this weird ass thing called the linear verse.
The linear verse now.
Yes.
Oh, that's from the Watchmen sequel we were talking about, right?
Oh, that was the metaverse.
That was the metaverse.
Oh, that was the metaverse.
Yeah, the linear verse, I think, is something that Jurgens came up with and threw out there.
It is
Generations forged things that he's been doing.
It is, and it's the most recent thing that came out, and it was supposed to sort of like lead into what would have originally been our quote unquote continuity reboot pre DiDio's firing, but instead it's sort of a side thing where Batman has existed since the 30s, and so has Superman, and they're just aging really slowly.
Oh.
So,
which is fine for Superman. I get that.
That's a premise for this?
This is the premise.
That's interesting.
All the heroes that have existed as long as they've existed. So like you could throw in any event that's happened and it happened to them. And that they have all this experience. I have no idea how they're going to work with this, but this is like their own thing. Or if exactly, but it's thrown out there like Hyper Time was thrown out there, and it's like the extra like nugget in your 6-piece. Like you got your 7th piece in a 6-piece nuggets. And there's also a world called Elseworld out there, which I think is kind of like the culmination of the dark multiverse, where like anything could be, and like that's basically your what if world. But hey, DC Comics, and that's kind of all I care about at this point is like, can I get the characters that I truly enjoy doing things that I want them to do? And the answer is yes. While at the same time, also not just catering to me, because I know for a fact that I'm in my 30s and I need stuff to actually get younger audiences in. And I'm hoping that'll still wind up happening here with stuff like Damien's new Robin book. and new takes on Batman and Superman and stuff like that. So it's going to be
Well,
a really
Ian,
interesting couple-
admittedly, I don't share your optimism, but I'm rooting for it.
I am hoping, just for the creators alone that are involved with this process, that we're going to get some good stuff. I think it's a good crop over DC right now.
Oh, I don't doubt the quality. I'm talking about getting new young readers.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. But, that also all stems on digital and stuff like, how well DC Infinite does to get people in and stuff like that, because that's a really cheap way to read comics. And Shane, did you know that you can read them on the browser now?
No, because I never really cared to do that or not, because I read them on the iPad.
Fair enough. But there have been times where I've been sitting at my computer for one reason or another, and I'm able to multitask, and I can go ahead and bring up the DC Infinite app. Sorry, the DC Infinite website, and just scroll on my browser and read stuff. That's pretty cool.
I'll tell you, I usually end up, partially because of my eyes getting bad, even with glasses, I usually end up reading stuff this way, sideways.
And zoomed in?
A little bit. It's taking too long to load.
Shane, let me raise a glass and commiseration as we both approach 50 at the speed of light.
You're not kidding. Faster and faster as time may go.
Any of you who've been seeing me sip on this bourbon all night, by the way, that's been the Statesman bourbon that Old Forester made for the Statesman movie. So comic book appropriate drink. Go figure.
Yeah. So I usually read it and just scroll up. I don't have to expand it anymore like I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of can read it in bed. I just kind of rest it looking up, and I don't know. It's just much more comfortable to read it sideways, and it's just a little bigger than comic size.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoy reading stuff on here. Again, still some things I like to read in paper physical form, but I like the option of having Marvel Unlimited and DC's Infinite whatever now.
Yeah.
To not pay $5, $6, whatever dollars per issue, or whatever with a discount, because it's still expensive with a discount. I still get some, but I'm down to 5 to 10 books a month now, physical, and the rest I'll just read on here.
Well, I wait for those sales on trade paperbacks for stuff like Image and what have you.
Yeah.
And as for the most part, DC and Marvel, I do exactly what you're saying, Shane. I just go ahead and read them on the app, and that's what works for me.
And there's very few times I'm not 6 months behind on my books anyway. So for me to wait, that's nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, speaking of comic books, Chris, what have you been reading?
Oh, I'm looking forward to discussion, gentlemen. I have a pile of stuff to promote here, and in my my always enthusiastic fashion. First of all, I mentioned this before, so I read issues 1 through 6 of Stillwater by Chip Zdarsky and I think it's Ramon Perez. Watch this book. This is going to be, if it continues in the path it is, it's going to be one of the most exciting and best comics being produced right now. There's no question in my mind it's going to be a TV series eventually, because it's clearly designed to be one. And I mean that not as a compliment, not as a put down. Chip Zdarsky is clearly something that he's probably been, I'm sure, has been thinking about and working on for a long time. I've been praising him as a writer for the past few years. This is him taking it up to even another notch. It's a slow burn. And I mean that again in the best possible way. Again, it's a guy is drawn back to a town because of the history of his mother. And when he crosses the borders of the town, he finds that nobody in the town can actually die. And they're all kind of stuck at a certain point. Like some of the kids are have adult sensibilities, but they're kids. And he starts to realize that once the knowledge this town has about itself, so that they will go to virtually any length to protect themselves from the outside world. And that's it. Just go with that story. And then you put this fly in the ointment, who's this guy from the outside world, has been drawn back in because of his family ties to the town. And then how he tries to now navigate what's happening. Because since he's an offspring, once he crosses the border, he can't die either. It's one of those series where you're like, God, I love independent comics. God, I love creator-owned comics. Really, there's nothing better. And this is going to be, again, I hope I'm not wrong. The next year or two, this will be one of the top comics out there, without question. It's that good already.
I believe you.
So, so there's that. Okay.
Radiant Black, ladies and gentlemen.
So this name, Kyle Higgins.
Yep.
I've mentioned many times over the years and how much I love his work and how I always think he's kind of under the radar. He is one of the best writers in comics, and this book utterly confirms that. This is the most exciting first issue of a superhero comic I've read in years.
Wow.
It is that good.
Okay.
And the art is fantastic. It's forgive me, let me look up the artist again.
Mind you, he's the man who single-handedly put life back into the Power Rangers franchise. So
well,
that says a lot.
Yeah,
and did he not also write the Rise of Ultraman miniseries at Marvel?
He did.
He did indeed. Yep.
I love him from his magnificent series Cal about the superhero union politics of the 1960s, which was brilliant. He then did the science crime noir Hadrian's Wall. This guy's a great writer, and he can do a lot of different genres. I think this may be the culmination of his work thus far. Marcelo Costo is the artist, by the way. It's about a young man who, I guess, is in his 20s, maybe 30. He comes back to town because he's basically screwed up his life. He tried to make it as a writer. It's not working out. He has debts, and he kind of has to come back with his tail between his legs back to his parents, his old high school buddy who's still in the town. And so that it's a real, starts with a real meditation on someone at that kind of point in their life where you're still young, but you've made so many mistakes that you're worried that you're not going to be able to correct the ship and like break out to what you really want to do. Many people have had this experience in their actual life, of course. And in this case, that experience runs up against, shall we say, something cosmic. And the dialogue, the way he captures these characters, like when you read this book, you know the main character. Maybe you are the main character. Maybe you were the main character when you were younger. Like, you know the character and you know his friend. It's that good. And Higgins writes an extensive commentary in the letters page about his life and what compelled him to write this book. And he goes a lot into, he talks about the Power Rangers, Ian, and he also goes into like when he was a kid and how much the Power Rangers meant to him and how he was kind of picked on about it. It's one of the most personal, like a lot of writers will do this, like the first issue of a book, especially if it's creator owned. It's one of the most personal I've ever read. And it makes you want to love and read this series all the more because you can tell he is 110% all in on this creation. Oh, that page is tremendous.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at the artwork too. I mean, I can certainly see.
Oh, the artwork's fabulous.
Oh yeah.
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 No, I didn't order 2 and 3 yet. I'll be emailing DCB service to get it back on my list because I just wanted to try the first one. I should have known better. I'm slapping myself. It's Kyle Higgins, Chris. Come on, you should be ashamed. But I think this is another series that if it finds its traction is going to be a very important book.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to add Kyle Higgins to that long list of creators that I'd love to just sit down and have a beer with and just talk like our shared experiences. Because if Power Rangers was that much of an influence on him, then I need to
you got to read his essay at the back.
Okay, great. Yep, I definitely shall. Yep. Meanwhile, in the world of comic books I knew Chris would love, Iron Fist.
Wachter is the word and the way.
So it is written, so it shall be done.
I mean, longtime friend of the show, an artist we've all admired for many years, an artist the show knew when he was just getting started, essentially. And so then we go to this. Like, look at that splash page.
Oh,
look at that. You know,
so
his take on basically the original Iron Fist costume.
Yep.
It's Larry Hama writing, so right there you got a major veteran backing you up when you come off the bench for this book.
Yep.
It's called Heart of the Dragon, immensely fun. So it takes in all the elements like the classic, like Fraction, like 7 Capital Cities of Heaven, all that's brought into it. He's got, you know, a war named Hey, and then he's got like this diminutive, like mysterious guy named Fu right out of like Central Casting from like, you know, pulp stuff. Luke Cage is in it. He's fighting like reanimated ninjas. There's Taskmaster. I mean, that's enough. Like all I've just said, it's Larry Hama, it's Dave Wachter doing Iron Fist. with all the great elements of what makes Iron Fist such a fun character. Immensely satisfying. Can't wait to read more. Okay. I know Murd and I were going to read this one.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Two Moons.
Yes. So that's Arcudi. John Arcudi righty, artist Valerio, I'm going to butcher this, I apologize, Gian Giordano, I believe. Colors by the great Dave Stewart, letters Michael Heisler. So this is a Civil War horror book. So that was enough for me, just that description. But it's about an American Indian who is serving in the Union Army, and how elements of his past and of his culture start to insinuate themselves into his experience as a soldier in that conflict. Artwork is, I mean, here, I'll give you an example. Look at that scene. That's a skirmish.
Ooh.
Wow.
So this is, artwork is beautiful. Here's an example of how they depict some of the violence in the book. It's really striking artwork, and any kind of story that explores sort of like a character who is sort of out of their element, either by choice or by circumstance. They're kind of thrust into a world they're not really fully accepted by or part of. I'm always interested in stories like that, and then they're bringing in a supernatural element to it. Also, an enormously promising first issue. So, high praise for that. I can keep going if you want me to, gentlemen.
By all means, sir. By all means.
So, I finally read Priest's first volume of Vampirella.
And were you disappointed, Chris?
Murd, I was over the moon. Okay. So, indeed. Here's the thing. Going into this, I knew 3 things about Vampirella. She was created in 1969, that costume, and she's an extraterrestrial vampire. That's it. I never read a Vampirella comic in my life. So I was hopeful, because what is Priest's specialty? He can take any character and make it accessible to new readers while also acknowledging and honoring the history. And he does that here in spades. I couldn't put this down. I can't wait to search out whatever the next trade comes out, because for issue 7 and up, it's got his trademark sense of humor. You've got the classic like POV character who's like trying to react to all this insanity. So in this case, it's a therapist. So Vampirella's in a plane crash. Everybody dies except her, of course. And the therapist thinks she's this intensely deluded plane crash survivor, as she talks about her, her life as Vampirella. So a lot of it's through him like, well, that's obviously not true. There are no werewolves. You realize that, right? And of course, the audience knows differently. So we're kind of going through it with this therapist. And based on some background reading I've done, there's so many references in this book to the entire history of Vampirella. There's like little notes on the bottom or certain characters. That's what Priest does. That's why his Black Panther run was so tremendous. And I think you're gonna get the same thing here. I absolutely love this, and I could give a fudge all about Vampirella before reading it. So that's the power of Priest once again.
I was gonna say, man. I mean, like it was kind of expected that you were gonna love it, and I'm glad you did.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I'm not a froth of the mouth acolyte. If I didn't like what he wrote, I would just say it just wasn't my cup of tea. But this again was him just firing on all cylinders. And again, what's so important with his work, there's always that humor, which is always winking the audience, like you realize you're reading a book about like an alien vampire in like a red bikini bathing suit, right? Like you realize you're reading this book. So we're gonna have some fun with that. And I always love that that subcurrent is always there in everything he does.
Yeah, that therapist character is pretty memorable, isn't he?
Oh, you read the first 6 issues, Murd? I didn't know.
Well, of course, I was the one who recommended it to you.
Murd, again, as Shane was mentioning his eyesight fading before, my memory is starting to recede as well. So I apologize profusely, brother.
See, I nominated it for Best New Series of whichever year that was, 2019, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, I will commit a symbolic seppuku later.
I'm holding you to that.
Before you go any further, Chris, speaking of memory.
Time to put mine to the test.
So that
Is
is
it that
easily
newfangled music?
that has easily been the best part of going video with this, is that we get to see the air harp, and that
yes.
just makes me super happy. Yep, it is time once again for Muddle the Murd, and to explain what the heck that is, Murd has more.
I'd be delighted, Ian. Yes, the Muddle the Murd is our trivia segment here on Comic Geek Speak. It's when you, the listeners, attempt to muddle me, the Murd, with three trivia questions of a comic book nature. So if you'd like to participate, you just get together three comic book trivia questions, one Marvel question, one DC, and one about some third publisher. The questions also need to break down chronologically to one question about comics pre-1970, one about comics published between 1970 and 2000, inclusive, and one about comics published after 2000. Come up with three questions meeting those parameters. Please don't make them too esoteric. Don't it needs to be something germane to the story or the characters. No superficial detail type questions, and nothing having to do with like the ads or the letters pages. Just the stories, please. And don't forget to include the answers. Get those questions together, put them into an email, and send them to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com with Muddle the Murd in the subject line. And Ian, our quizmaster, will gather them up. He will ask those questions to me in turn. And if I fail to answer a single one of them correctly, the submitter of those three questions will have Muddled the Murd, and he or she will be entitled to a prize. And we have got a nicer than average prize to offer our contestants right now, because we still have 2 of 4 Drawer Boxes prize packs put up by our friends at the Collection Drawer Company late last year to celebrate their 15th anniversary. So if you Muddle the Murd, well, if you're one of the next 2 people to Muddle the Murd, you will be received, and you live in the continental United States. We do need to throw that in there too, because that's as far as the Collection Drawer folks are willing to ship. You will receive a pack of, I believe it was 5 drawer boxes in either long box or short box size, Muddler's choice, and also some box sort upright dividers and some box locks anchors to stabilize the boxes thrown in for good measure.
Okay, great, and yes, to our previous winner, who unfortunately lives in Canada, we just went ahead and shipped out a prize to you. So although you do not get the drawer boxes, you do get something nice and fancy. So no worries on that.
Yep, I've already communicated with him about that, and Adam of Earth 13 is a good sport about it, and I hope you enjoy what's coming your way, Adam. It's a little something from the vaults at the CGS studio.
Excellent. Well, this contender almost fell through the cracks because I forwarded it to myself and kind of forgot about it. Mr. Eric Bennett had a submission for Muddle the Murd, and he had these words to say before getting to his questions. Gentlemen, it's been some time since my last attempt at muddling the good Mr. Murdo, so I thought this would be an excellent time to take another swing at it. I wish Adam good fortune, and thank you all for your consideration. Eric.
Well, Eric, who sometimes goes by Thorell on the CGS forums, knows his stuff when it comes to comics trivia. So I expect he's going to give me a run for my money, and I'm interested to hear what his third publisher question is going to be.
Well, we start with that third publisher, actually, this time around. It's pre-1970 independent.
Ooh. Wow.
Yep. He is definitely shooting for the fences on this one. In 1951's Strange Worlds #2, cover date September 1951, Air Force pilots Ford Robbins and Gene Dorn accidentally discover a hidden village in northern Greenland inhabited by Vikings. They aid the villagers in battle against the evil rival chieftain Singar. Name the princess of this village, who is also the main title character of this story.
Oh my lord. See? What did I
Wow.
What did I tell you?
You knew what you were getting into.
Oh, brother. I'm just trying to think of a good Scandinavian-sounding female name here. Oh, boy.
They just roll right off the tongue.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Murder may be committing symbolic seppuku together.
Maybe. Okay. Well, I'm going to go with Sigyn, the wife of Loki from Norse mythology.
You are incorrect.
I
I would say, hey, Chris and Shane, do you want to take a stab at it? But I don't think you will. The correct answer is Dara of the Vikings. Dara of the Vikings.
And so it shall be.
Well, let's see how you do with Marvel 1970 to 2000 inclusive, as he makes perfectly clear. In the 3-part Val in Valhalla saga in Defenders Volume 1, issues 66 through 68, name the main villain who sought to usurp the goddess of death Hela from her place in the Norse pantheon.
Ooh. I hope this is going to turn out to be a character I've at least heard of. I don't think I'm going to be coming up with the correct name. Okay, Defenders, 70s.
Those stories can be very wacky too.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
If it's part of the Gerber run, certainly.
Indeed.
Blur. Malekith. That's all I can come up with.
Shane, Chris, any guesses?
I mean, I want to say it's somebody like the Enchantress. It's probably somebody more esoteric than that, though.
It is indeed. The correct answer, Olaris the Unmerciful.
Okay, can you spell Olaris, please?
I sure can. It's Ollerus. Olaris.
Okay, I think I have seen that name in print, but it's been some time.
Probably since that issue. In fact, I'm honestly going to look it up after we're done with this muddle to see if Olaris the Unmerciful has ever shown up ever again outside of that one arc, because I most certainly have not heard of Olaris before.
Yep, I'd say odds are against. All right, so it's...
looking it up just now, the answer is yep, just that arc.
Okay. and who was the writer on that arc?
That I'll have to look up again here. I think you might be right on Gerber, to be honest. Let's see. Looking up. Keep on rolling. Created by David Kraft and Ed Hannigan.
Okay.
Yep, those are some known Bronze Age creator names.
Yep.
I don't think I knew that Kraft had a run on Defenders, but there it is.
Yep, that is indeed his run, and Ed Hannigan was the penciler. All right, and over to DC post-2000. In Walt Simonson's seminal run on Orion, in issue number 12, in a backup with art by Jim Lee, we're introduced to a new goddess who lives in a paradise at the heart of Apocalypse. It is to this paradise that Darkseid fled following his seeming defeat in combat at the hands of Orion. What is the name of this goddess trapped at the very core of evil?
Well, Orion number 12. Sounds like something I probably own, but okay. I have a couple of guesses in mind, neither of which is likely to be right, but I'm just going to go ahead and invoke the name of Darkseid's lost love from his innocent younger days, the Enchantress Suli.
Shane, Chris, any guesses?
I read that series when it came out. I remember enjoying it, but I haven't read it since.
I don't think I read. If I did read, I only read the first few issues. I don't remember finishing that.
Well, it is a very new god's name, Pythia.
Pythia. Okay. My second guess was going to be Idun, which is who in Norse mythology was the keeper of the golden apples and kind of an Edenic figure. But yeah. Oh well. Congratulations, Eric N. You have muddled the Murd.
Yes, indeed. And boy, oh boy, what a muddle that was.
Yeah. It's rare Murd can't answer any of the questions. That was a real smiting.
Overwhelmed.
Yep. I kind of had a feeling once we started off with pre-1970 Independent that things.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought.
Yeah.
Wow.
Does it say which publisher did that first story?
I'm gonna have to look that up. He did not include that.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yep. So let's see. Strange Worlds number 2. That is 1951. Let's see. There we go. 1951.
Curious.
All right, let's see. Mind you, I had to go to eBay and it says coverless, and then I clicked on it and nothing was there. So let's see. Oh wow. You know, I might have to just share this image with you because it is kind of an amazing image in and of itself. Okay, here we are. All right, I'm gonna share the screen real quick. It's a small one, but you can still make it out. This is the cover to that comic.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. It's very
Yep.
pulpy.
Yeah, very pulpy.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I can't for the life of me make out the name of the
Hmm.
of the actual comic book house it's out of though.
Huh. So I wonder if is 1951 too early for ACG to exist?
That's a good question. Oh, it's Avon.
Avon.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
There we are. Yep. Yeah, because this came from a heritage auction site.
Wow.
And they were auctioning off a very fine 8.0 of Strange Worlds #2. So go figure on that one. Yep.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy. All right. Well, there we go. And enjoy your long or short boxes, Eric, and we will be in touch.
We know that you will put them to good use.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. Yep. All right. Chris, do you have any other comics you wanted to share?
A few more offerings from TwoMorrows, actually. I was reading through Alter Ego 168, which I was really excited about because it goes into some of the life of Paul Norris, who's the co-creator of Aquaman.
I'm sorry. Did you mean Aquaman?
Oh,
Aquaman.
wait. Okay.
There you go. There's your seppuku. Well done.
Let me do Aquaman. Thank you. Okay.
Much better. Much better.
God, I miss Ted Knight. All right. So I've always known, I've never read much about Paul Norris. There's stuff out there I just haven't read much myself. So I was really excited to read this. And it goes into when he was in World War II, he served in the Pacific Theater. And because of his artistic abilities, because he'd already created Aquaman by this point, he went to the service after he had done that. They had him draw leaflets that they dropped by air on Japanese troops defending Okinawa. Okinawa was the last great, terrible battle of the Pacific Campaign before the atomic bombs were used. And they credited his leaflets with getting several thousand Japanese troops to surrender. They had photos of them with their hands up holding this leaflet. And he used comic images with Japanese translations to explain to them how they could surrender safely and not be harmed. And it was just a fascinating story because it's someone, who was drafted, who his superiors recognized his talents and put them to very specific and good use. And as I'm sure many people know, most Japanese soldiers would not surrender in World War II. For part of it was cultural, part of it was indoctrination and propaganda. And these leaflets at least got some of these men to willingly surrender, which was rare. So that was fascinating. There's also an essay that he wrote about his early life in here. Really interesting information. I want to read more about him because I don't know much about his Aquaman period, and they go into that just a little bit here. But I know Mort Weisinger. Everybody's sunshine boy from that time period. Yes, that was me being sarcastic. I've never read anything nice about Mort Weisinger by pretty much anybody who worked with him, with the exception of maybe Julie Schwartz because they were friends. So, I'm interested to learn more about that whole period. But really interesting guy and really, really great article. I really enjoyed it. So that's Alter Ego 168. Also, there's an article in there about another World War II era story. The animator and artist Willie Ito, who was in an internment camp when he was a kid. Wow. And he talked about, how much he loved before he was interned, how he loved Disney and Sunday strips. And, there was a younger Japanese man in the camps who did like a camp comic strip for the people there. And that kind of kept his enthusiasm going. He ended up working for both Disney and Hanna-Barbera. He was involved in the Jetsons in the 60s.
Wow.
So he's still alive. Really interesting article as well. And the other thing I wanted to point out,
Grendel.
This magazine, especially for me, just never misses. I know Shane is what read a lot of back issue over the years as well.
What's the issue number on that one, Chris?
125.
Okay.
So back issue focuses on the Bronze Age through, and this is called the creator-owned comics issue. And I haven't read the interview yet, but I can't wait. There's a lengthy interview with Matt Wagner all about Mage and Grendel. So, and to me, Matt Wagner is one of the great living masters of the medium. So I can't wait to read that interview. But the article also goes into Colin Duran's A Distant Soil, Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo,
which both of us still have to read.
Exactly. Steve Purcell's Sam and Max, Dean Smith's Boris the Bear, Larry Wells's Cherry Pop Tart. I mean,
Mm.
this magazine is always so chock full of great stuff, and always well worth it. So that's my field report for this comic talk, gentlemen.
Excellent.
Good deal.
Excellent indeed. Murd, you got anything to share?
Well, I have something from the Time Bubble cargo hold
Ah.
here, something that I just kind of on a whim dug out of one of my boxes of older comics. Part of a lot that I bought at a local auction a long time ago, actually. Chris, I think that you will appreciate this.
Ooh.
Some classic Bronze Age Marvel for you.
Oh, give me some Richard
Oh.
Rider. Give me some Richard Rider.
Yep.
Wow.
It's issues number 1 and 2 from 1976 of the first volume of The Man Called Nova.
Wow. Oh my
So,
God.
First and second appearances of Nova, because it's fitting today that I show this today because it's kind of a spiritual antecedent, I suspect, Chris, to the Radiant Black series
Hmm.
by Kyle Higgins that you were touting earlier.
I think that's a good point, Murd.
Good
Yeah,
point, yeah.
I can see that. Yep,
It's an
absolutely.
origin story about well, it's I mean, Richard Rider was a bit younger when he got his powers than the protagonist of Radiant Black was, I think, since he was still in high school, still figuring things out. But it's a young two-time loser who suddenly gets a cosmic shot in the arm and finds himself rocketed towards destiny. And so this is a character we've all known about and for the most part liked for a long time, but it's the first time I've actually read his first couple of appearances. I have issues 3 and 4 at home too, which I have yet to read just yet. But he was created or co-created by Marv Wolfman as writer-editor, and on art we had Big John Buscema and Joe Sinnott.
Oh,
And it's the origin story of how a young teenage loser, Rich Rider, the character it's basically trying to catch lightning in a bottle a second time, trying to create a Spider-Man
Right.
in the 70s. And so they began with a character which has a really cool costume and visual and a pretty cool power set, cosmic energy manipulation and ballistic flight, hence human rocket. And underneath it, they just kind of, to undergird him, they basically plagiarized Green Lantern's origin story and Parker's everything else. And I can't believe it's taken me this many decades to realize this, but Peter Parker, Richard Rider,
Yeah.
Park, and
Oh
Ride.
my God. Oh my God, Murd. Wow. You just broke my brain.
Wolfman wasn't digging very deep here. He just wanted people to know very clearly what he was doing. Here's your Spider-Man. He's 70s Spider-Man here, folks. So yeah, we got
sounds like you're shilling peanuts at the ball game.
a little bit.
With great responsibility comes great power.
Get him while he's human. Get him while he's a rocket.
All in color for a dime.
You ain't kidding, except it was 3 dimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a recent price increase in 1976, apparently,
Yeah.
because the Bullpen Bulletins page has one of those little apologetic messages from the editorial staff saying, sorry, rising costs and so forth. But thank you for sticking with us. We promise to make it worth your hard-earned money.
Can you imagine? I know it's 2020, and sorry for the increase from when you started reading at 25 or 30 cents. Now it's $7. Sorry.
Yeah. Meanwhile, now it's like, oh, hey, we're gonna put out this Infinite Crusade. It's $7, whether you like it or not. We're not gonna apologize at all. Just give us your damn money.
Like I hear John Candy from
okay.
Vacation. Sorry, folks. Park's closed.
Shane, when you and I started reading G.I. Joe, it was 60 cents.
Yeah, it sure was.
Yep.
Oh, God,
Speaking
$20
of-
$20 got me a long way then.
See, when I was young, 99 cents was cheap because I remember when they would put out those 99. Like I think what was it? Fantastic Four.
Untold Tales of Spider-Man, which was
Untold Tales of
Yeah.
Spider-Man was 99 cents. I think
Well, the
Fantastic.
Unplugged series.
That's what I'm thinking of, Murd. Thank you. Fantastic Four Unplugged was 99 cents. I remember that. Yep.
and it was done on older style paper.
Yes.
Yep.
Murr reminded me of something because he was talking about the Bullpen Bulletins. I just wanted to announce that I was really intrigued by the on our Facebook page, the discussion about the new Stan Lee biography. So I ordered a copy
Okay.
and I'll read it. And once I finish it, I'll talk about it on the air. But I'm really intrigued by the premise of this book.
Yeah, please do, because I've heard some very mixed things about
Right.
it, and whether or not it's a hit piece or not. So
Well, that's what I want to discern about for myself because I read a review of it and it looks like that he's going into a lot of aspects of his life that are controversial.
sure.
The lover of Marvel history that I've always been, I'm really intrigued by this, and I want to see, where he goes. Because again, even if you just read between the lines, like the latter years of Stan Lee's life had a lot of disappointments in it and frustrations, and professional failings and so forth. So
Definitely.
I'm intrigued. I mean, again, this is a major figure in American popular culture, and if it's a biography that is critical but fair, I'm really interested in reading that.
I hope they mention Stripperella at least once.
I'm sure it's going to be mentioned.
Virtual guarantee.
So what'd you think overall of Richard Rider's first appearance?
Well, I appreciate that Wolfman changed up the Peter Parker origin enough to give Rich a healthy family life, and we actually had 2 alive parents, and even a younger brother who's a science nerd. So there's still that aspect of Peter Parker, but it's projected elsewhere. And he also Richard Rider also has friends, and even like a semi-healthy relationship with a girlfriend, the girl next door, Ginger J. So, Rich Rider's got his stuff together a little bit better than Peter Parker did in the early 60s. So.
Oh, God, Murd. Now that you mentioned the Richard Rider, all I can think of is that her name is Ginger J, and Mary Jane is a ginger, and her name ends with J. They didn't try very hard.
No, they did
Fantastic.
not.
Amazing.
Spider-Man in space.
And in the second issue, we get a couple of members of his new rogues gallery, Condor and Powerhouse. So Condor being pretty similar to a vulture, you'll note.
Boy, oh boy. Hey kids, you like Spider-Man? You like space?
Is Spidey in the first issue?
Actually, no. And
that's surprising.
Nor is he in the second issue, which is usually when Spider-Man will make his sales-boosting early series cameo. But yeah, I guess they just didn't want to. They didn't want people to think too hard about the similarities that early on in the run, I guess. But,
I'm proud of them that didn't happen for a while.
Has Nova been used? I know he was a big character in the Annihilation saga, but has he been used lately?
He's pretty central to the current volume of Guardians of the Galaxy.
He is. Okay, great.
The Al Ewing run that I nominated in this year.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And it is the Richard Rider version back, right?
It is, yes.
Okay, all right. Because I know for a while they were going with a teen version, which is still around over in Champions.
Oh, right. Sam Alexander, I think.
Yep. The teen version. He was also in that Spider-Man cartoon, wasn't he, Shane?
Yes,
that was
he
on.
I think so.
XD?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, if I remember.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Shane, you got a chance to read anything?
I'm reading stuff for upcoming show.
Ooh.
Oh.
I started that. I'm
tease.
4
All right.
issues in.
Very good.
Splendid.
That's
Good to hear. I will share with the audience one more thing that if we do get a chance to talk to her on the show, we will. But I wanted to make sure we do mention it anyway. That friend of the show, Chandra Free, is currently running a Kickstarter for the return of her series, The God Machine. And that has 27 days to go as of the date of this recording. And we'll be putting this out tonight, so it'll have 26 days to go when you hopefully listen to this. But she's already got about 10,000 to her name, and she's looking for 24,000. And basically, Chandra's been a friend of the show for a while. She exhibited over at Super Show a couple times, and has been on my show, Comic Timing, a couple times, and has been on here on CGS at least once or twice as well. And she's looking to bring back God Machine, and more power to her on that. Plenty of good backer rewards and levels here. And you can get a copy of the book for $10 here from the looks of it. I'm sorry, $15 for the PDF. $10 is a backer credit, and $15 gets you the PDF of the entire volume. So do keep that in mind, and just go ahead and search God Machine on Kickstarter, and it'll go ahead and pop up for you. So good on Chandra for that. All right, I think that's pretty much everything I have in my pipeline. Gentlemen, how about you?
No,
I guess the other thing I would bring up, just because I just remembered it, is I also read the most recent issue of Iron Man by Cantwell and Cafu.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I don't want to spoil too much, but if you love Iron Man, if you love the Iron Man history and the Rogues Gallery, and if you just love when a writer captures the essence of one of the Marvel icons, you owe it to yourself to read this series because it's that good. And again, the art is just, I'm talking about an artist born to draw the world of Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
It is, and he's doing a modern version of the classic like Bronze Age red and gold armor.
Nice.
It's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
and his rogues have I mean, they look amazing. You know, like when did the Blizzard ever look? I mean, it's really looks good. I mean, and they brought in like now Misty Knights in it and Frogman, and that sounds ridiculous, but it works. Trust me.
Frogman.
You know, the Scarlet
Never apologize
Spiders,
for Frogman, Chris.
I appreciate that, Murd.
They
Scarlet
just put an action
Spiders.
figure out of Frogman.
Of course they did.
Yeah, just in the last month.
Yep. Scarlet Spider's in there.
Have they put out an action figure for the Spot yet? Because I feel like that's like the only person that I need an action figure for. Like,
I don't recall a Spot.
okay, all right.
Polka Dot Man, but not Spot.
I remember the Spot showing up in the Spider-Man animated series, and that was silly enough as it was.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, it's a superb book.
Yeah, I'm catching up. I still haven't read past issue 1, but I'm planning on it. So I'm gonna try to read as much as possible there. I also did pick up on a recent Comixology sale, both Undiscovered Country Volume 1 and They Called Us Enemy. So I'm looking forward to reading both of those, as I've heard nothing but positive things on both of those. Undiscovered Country, I know is well regarded as one of the best books of the last couple of years. And that's Snyder and Soule working together as a team. So you can't beat that. Obviously, They Called Us Enemy, George Takei. Enough said.
Right. About his experience at the internment camps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yep. I saw the
It
play.
was also a stage play, right? Yeah.
Yes, I saw the play actually. I saw it was on Broadway, and it was very well done. Yep. Alrighty, gents. I think that's just about it.
Our bolt has been shot.
Indeed. And stay tuned for next week, as it is just about previews time, and we'll be shooting out our latest previews episode nice and timely. Alrighty, and of course, we are sponsored indeed yet again by you, the listeners, over at patreon.com/comic timing. Wait, I didn't do my point earlier. You, the listeners, you at patreon.com/comic timing. Thank you guys. Patreon.com/comic geek speak, that is, for that. And patreon.com/comic timing would be my thing. So go ahead and be a patron if you can to both of them. But obviously, Comic Geek Speak comes first. Patreon.com/Comic Geek Speak. Thank you so much for your support over there. And Murd, a reminder on the best of.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, don't forget to get your ballots together to vote in the Best of 2020 awards. The address again is bestov@comicgeekspeak.com. Just don't forget to vote in 12 of the 16 categories, or your ballot will be disqualified as a partial ballot.
Disqualified.
Yep. You have until Sunday, March 21st. So vote early and vote once.
Yes. Not often, because only one of them will be counted. We will be paying attention to that.
Yes, so you bet I will.
Yes, and a reminder, bestov@comicgeekspeak.com. Just posting on the website will not count as a vote. So make sure to do indeed send your ballots into bestov@comicgeekspeak.com. And that's bestov@comicgeekspeak.com. If you send it to the regular comicgeekspeak@gmail.com, it may get lost in the shuffle. So please do keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We'll try to find it and forward it to the appropriate place, but we can't guarantee anything.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Alrighty. And Shane, since you are here to be Shane, let's go ahead and get things going for the ending here.
Take us home, brother.
Indeed. Country roads take us home. We are good to go, and over to you.
Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com to send an email. The address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com and let us know what you think of all these offerings from today's episode in Price is Right fashion. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Thanks to everyone who contributes to the show. We appreciate it. Thank you for sponsoring us. That's greatly appreciated. It does indeed keep the lights on and the show running. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
That's the longest that's ever gone. Here we go. And here we go. Come on. Where are you? There we go.